Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 60, the week of September 28th, 2024. My name's Drew Koenig. With me, as always, my co-host, Matt Spasasi. Matt, how we doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. As is the case with, I'm sure a lot of people right now, the hurricane is sweeping through the coast. We didn't get hit, I'm sure, as bad as we could have, but still fairly good, you know. I live in Ohio. I'm not too close to the coast, but we took a good whopping over here.
I live in New Jersey, and it has been rain since the hurricane hit Florida. So we get a lot of bad weather from hurricanes because we do live close to the coast. We're a little bit inward in New Jersey, but still we're like 45 minutes from the coastline. So it's, we're still going to get hit.
It knocked out our power yesterday. It was fun.
Nice.
I am surprised I got as much watch as I managed to, given that I did not have power for like half the day. My vacation started this week. A few days from now, as we're recording, will be my birthday. So that'll be fun.
Ooh, yay.
By the time you all listen to this, I'm sure will have already passed. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do for my birthday, but...
Sitting at home doing nothing.
Probably. Honestly, probably. You do reach a certain age where you're like, what can I do that's fun and age appropriate by myself? And you're like,
right.
Nothing? Go see a movie?
Right.
Quick note at the top here. I want to again thank our guests, Robin and Ariel, for coming on for our Lost bonus episode.
Nice.
Our bonus episode about Lost, commemorated its 20th anniversary. That was a great list. That was a great talk, and go listen to that if you have not already. It should be in our feed. But yeah, great talk. I don't understand the passage of time or how it's been 20 years, but here we are. But again, thanks to both of them for coming on, and be sure to go follow them on their socials. Wherever we are talking about Dimension 20, there you will find Robin Jeffrey lurking somewhere. She's lurking even now. I can feel her. This week kicked off fall season in pretty much earnest. How are you feeling first week of fall?
Some of the new stuff seems a bit tired, and like I feel like, okay, we've seen this before in some capacity, but some of the new stuff is really good. And some of the returning stuff was very exciting. So I feel like it was kind of a mid. They kind of balanced each other out, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's a kind of... I was thinking about this over the week. There's a kind of like late 90s, early aughts kind of feel to the TV with like, or maybe even just full of 90s, where it's like Rescue High Surf is just so clearly like a Baywatch, and Dr. Odyssey is like, feels like something of that time. And
someone said Love Boat, and I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah, definitely Love Boat. It feels like a show that like the 90s would have rebooted Love Boat, So there's a lot of,
and it even has Joshua Jackson, which adds to that nostalgic feel of it.
Exactly. There's just a lot of that this week of like, yeah, there's something kind of quaint about it, like, or like even High Potential, which we talked about last week, has that kind of like maybe more into like the aughts kind of procedural, like not a cop procedural. It's like, yeah, it does feel like we're kind of doing a bit of a remix this season.
Yeah, and I appreciate that it seems like people, on social media all week, I heard people talking the good, the bad, and the ugly, but overall they seem to be like, even if the show is kind of not my favorite, I still want to tune in. And I feel like that's something we've lost along the way, and now we're getting back to, that sometimes TV can be annoying and somewhat trashy and we'll still watch it. Or the best thing about a show might not even be the story plot itself, but the characters. And so, like, again, I said this off recording, but Rescue High Surf kind of feels that way. Like, the emergencies that they deal with in the episode, it's like, whatever. But the characters, I'm like, this feels like a early 2000s show where like I was tuning in for the characters, not necessarily the plot.
Right.
But we'll get into that more detail later on. But yeah.
Let's get into some news real quick. The first piece of news that I have here is a bit of casting news that Hilary Swank has joined the third season of Yellow Jackets in
I
a
saw that.
mysterious role. And if and when a fourth season gets greenlit, she'll be upped to a series regular, which is exciting.
Interesting.
A lot of people are theorizing that she is a older version of a character from when they were trapped in the wilderness. But like, guys, I have to say this about Yellowjack. Not some of these girls have to have died.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them can still be alive in the present timeline. Some of these girls have to have been eaten. This is the threat inherent of the show. So like, it's fun theorizing that like, oh, she's adult Melissa or whatever. She's adult Laura Lee that survived or whatever. It's like, some of these girls have to die. It's fun to theorize, but it's like, gotta die. Hilary Swank is a big hit, which isn't to say that like Yellow Jackets didn't already have like fairly good sized names to it. Swank is probably the biggest they've had so far.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Aside from, I mean, you had Melanie Linsky and Christina Ricci. I think Hilary Swank is just a little higher.
Slightly a bit above those two.
Yeah, I mean, she's an Oscar-winning actress, so
yeah,
it is an impressive get. It does show a bit of confidence going forward, which I think is very appreciated, and it's it's a nice little taste since we've had to wait a little bit between the second and third season. Third season, which probably still will not come out till 2025. To all those listening, if you hear someone say that it's going to come out late this year, they're lying to you. It's not. It's just not going to happen. I am certainly very excited for this third season to come out, even more so now with this news. The other big thing to talk about here is Maggie Smith passed away at the age of 89, I believe.
Yes. She was almost 90.
Maggie Smith, a very lauded actress, and it's been in so many things. Not the least of which to say McGonagall in the Harry Potter series, was in Downton Abbey.
My first thing that I distinctly remember her in, I don't remember which order it was because I saw both of these things around the same time, was Hook, and then the BBC miniseries, which was like 2 or 3 episodes long, for David Copperfield, where she played the aunt that has all the money and doesn't like men, and Daniel Radcliffe played David Copperfield, the young child. And this is like baby Daniel Radcliffe. Like, this was before I knew who actors or actresses were, but like, I knew the story of David Copperfield because I was a voracious reader as a young child, and so I read Charles Dickens when I was in elementary school because I'm a weirdo. And I love David Copperfield, and my mom had rented it for me because she could find it. She found it on VHS at the video store. And I just remember this being one of my first times ever seeing this woman. And then years later, when I like knew who she was, I was like, oh yeah, I saw her in that one thing, right? And even then she seemed like an old lady. So like my whole life, she's always seemed like a very old lady. So it was very sad to hear she passed. But I was like, wait, she was only 89? Because in my head, I was like, I felt like she was 80 from the time I was a small child. The magic of television and movies, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And we should say Dame Maggie Smith.
Yes. Though Daniel Radcliffe did release a statement about it, and he said one of the first times he ever spoke to her, he asked, do I need to call you Dame? And she laughed and said, don't be ridiculous. Oh, Downton Abbey. I mean, I only ever watched the first season of that show.
I don't think I've watched any Downton Abbey.
That's fair.
I think it's just one of those things that slipped past me. So, Mads, have you ever watched The Terror?
I don't. Was that the one? I feel like it was like Asian in some way, or am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
Okay.
Not entirely correct, but not wrong.
Okay.
the Terror. So the Terror is a anthology series on AMC.
I watched. I think the second season was like the prison camps, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
The second season was set in a Japanese concentration camp in California.
Yes.
And it was basically a Japanese ghost haunting a concentration camp.
Yeah, I interviewed someone for Telltale for that season. That's why I was thinking it was Asian.
I reviewed that season. I was not crazy about it, but the reason I mentioned this is the first season followed two British ships in the late 1800s, like around like 1800s ish. They got trapped in the North Arctic ice.
Okay.
It appears that fans of the show helped scientists solve a almost 2-century archaeological mystery over what happened to one of the guys on those ships.
So I saw that they had finally identified the remains of one of those explorers, and I was like reading up on this. I was like, this is insane, but I had no idea there was ties to the Terror.
Listen, a lot of the times fandoms are weird, and some of the times they do something so delightfully weird that I'm just like, I have to give them a hand. It's just it's so good. Yeah, that's like that is such a fun fandom thing. That's like, oh, we solved a mystery. Like, I love that.
Yeah, I love that for them. Like,
Yeah,
good
I love
job,
that.
guys.
Yeah, if anyone out there has not watched the first season of The Terror, go watch it because it is fantastic.
I need to.
It's such a good Jared Harris performance.
Oh, I do love him.
Jared Harris, Tobias Menzies, Sharon Hines. It's just very excellent. But yeah, I saw that this week. I was like, what the fuck?
Speaking of Jared Harris, someone recently asked him if he would take the role that his father played in the Harry Potter films, because his father played Dumbledore for the first two films, and he was like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, I love you, sir. Because everyone's wanting to know who would be in this TV series that I have high doubts is going to actually happen anytime soon. So,
especially, and this should be our last piece of news for the week. Warner Brothers is now embroiled in a lawsuit from Sky on the grounds that they are not cooperating in this, and I imagine this will be dragged out for quite some time. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of like what this lawsuit entails because it's no matter what I tell you, it's going to be stupid. The takeaway is that this show is probably not getting made anytime soon. This is going to be dragged out in arbitration and courts, or Warner Brothers might throw them a big bag of money. Who can say? Honestly, I'm fine with either option. Let's move on into the GOAT. So the GOAT is a weekly segment we do here on the podcast where myself and Maz nominate a best TV character or episode of all time and pit them against each other on a poll on Twitter and Tumblr and Instagram and TikTok. Last time we did our best sci-fi episode or character. Mads, you put up Claudia Donovan from Warehouse 13, and I put up Gaius Baltar from Battlestar Galactica, and in a upset, maybe? I don't know. Who can say? My entire sense of how this would go has been entirely upturned. With Claudia Donovan running away with the ball.
Nice. As she should.
Truly trouncing. Embarrassingly, humiliatingly so. I don't want to denigrate our listeners, but is it possible that some of you were just horny?
Listen, Alison Scagliotti is actually a very good actress. I just feel like she's underestimated.
I'm not, again, not discounting Alison Scagliotti or Claudia Donovan or our listeners.
I get you, though. A lot of people loved her because they were horny boys. Let's be real.
Yeah, like, it's the TikTok idea. Is she your favorite, or were you just horny? Who's to say? I'm not trying to make any insinuations here.
I mean, she sort of is a manic pixie, so.
Moderately, yeah.
But doesn't matter, I won. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. You know what?
It's been a while since I've had a big win like this. So.
Yeah, win's a win. So for this week, in honor of Matlock premiering on TV, we're doing our best lawyer or episode of a law show. And a reminder, we both have count them, two vetoes on the board. Since I lost this week, I shall go first in my pick for the GOAT. Before I do that, I do want to say, as I was like really thinking about what to go for, I did kind of have a realization of like, this is such an embarrassment of riches of things to choose from. Like, because you have, your Law and Orders, your Good Wife, Good Fight, Elspeth, The Practice, Boston Legal, any episode that a lawyer has ever appeared in, which is pretty much every episode of television. Even if you just kept it to like The Good Wife, we could be here all day. You know, like if you just did Law and Order, be here all fucking day. But with that said, I am here today to nominate The Good Wife, Season 5, Episode 5, entitled Hitting the Fan. And this, like a lot of episodes that I like in general, takes what has been quietly building throughout the first 4 episodes of the 5th season and explodes it. Where Diane informs Will, Alicia and Carrie are planning to break off and form their own firm. In the process, poaching some clients and taking some associates with them. To which Will loses his goddamn mind and goes on an absolute spree, firing Alicia and Carrie, trying to prevent them from taking any clients with them or any associates with them. Just goes absolutely apeshit as he confronts Alicia. Like fucking wrecks her desk. It's a great performance from Josh Charles as Will, who was always fairly hit or miss in his episodes, and this is just all fucking hit. As the episode indicates, it is just everything hitting the fan. It is everything coming to fruition. 5 seasons, four and change seasons of character development and character interactions just being burned at the wayside, and like this really huge explosion of plot and character. It's really great. And then watching it's this wonderful thing of like watching everyone scramble in the remaining minutes of this episode, while also being like kind of funny. Like the big confrontation between Will and Alicia. Will takes Alicia's phone and answers the call for her, and in the middle just relays a message from Alicia's daughter to Alicia. It's this really funny moment. And there's just little things like in ways that like The Good Wife is always really good. I think part of what makes this episode really good is it takes the like standard format and so wonderfully consolidates it and makes it a lot more streamlined. You don't have any subplots. You don't have any real case of the week. It's just these two now opposing sides who you like everyone involved. You know,
right.
You like everyone on both sides, and you're like, I want everyone to get their way. And that's not the way that works. And someone's going to take a hit, and inevitably someone does. And yeah, it's just a very powerful episode of television that is just a crack of lightning. So that is my pick for this week. It's Good Wife, Season 5, Episode 5, Hitting the Fan.
Awesome. So I am picking an episode again this week, which I don't do very often, like I've said before. And I'm going to go with the show Matlock, because I thought about doing an actual like lawyer character from like Law and Order or something like that, but then I was like, no, I feel like that's just, I've done Law and Order stuff enough times on this show. Like, let me pick a show that I've watched, but like haven't ever really nominated for anything. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go with the OG Matlock. And I'm going with season 9, episode 4, The Dare. And this episode has obviously Andy Griffith as Matlock, but it also has Terry O'Quinn as a wealthy philanthropist who murders Matlock's good friend, Lieutenant Bob Brooks, in order to prove that he wants to prove that he can commit the perfect crime, and that he can't, and that Ben Matlock cannot solve this crime. Like, he is so hell-bent on making Matlock look like a fool in court. And he tries to create an alibi using his cat and his, pet, but obviously Matlock figures it out. But it's such a good episode because the emotionality of Matlock having to try and keep his emotions out of the case. Because as we know, if we've ever watched Matlock, he's a very compassionate person, but he tries to keep his personal feelings out of things in order to be the good, strong, substantial lawyer that he is. But he still has a soft side and a human side to him that makes him lovable and relatable and all these things. But this case really hits home because it's his good friend who we've seen multiple times throughout the series. So we know this character. He's been killed just because this guy wants to make a fool of Matlock. So it's one of those very hard-hitting episodes of a show that doesn't really do hard-hitting drama like that, because it wasn't a time in television that we had a lot of big murders happening on shows like this, right? We didn't have shocking character deaths that didn't seem to make sense. It was truly, every death was very, very important, and it wasn't common to have a character that we knew very well meet an untimely end. And this one was big because we knew this character. It was a death that was completely unnecessary, but Terry O'Quinn's performance as this very rich man who he's basically bored and he just wants to create problems for Matlock. So he's like, I know, I'll go stab his friend in the park and I will tell Matlock that it's going to happen before it happens. And it's just this whole plot that Matlock has to kind of be a detective of sorts in order to try and put this man behind bars, right? But it's just such a good episode. It was in the final season of the show, around the time that the show was starting to lose its edge a little bit, and I feel like they did this to kind of turn things around a bit. It's an episode that I've seen many times, and it's one of those reasons that when I finally did watch Lost years later, I was like, oh my god, I recognize that actor, because I'd seen him in Matlock when I was in middle school. So yeah, I nominate Matlock, season 9, episode 4, The Dare.
Nice. As I said, you can go vote for both of these on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and TikTok, and you'll have 2 days to vote once it goes live. Be sure to like and share it on all of your socials. And next week, in honor of the 10-year anniversary of the series premiere of The Flash, we're going to be doing our best TV character or best superhero character or episode. So, keep an eye out for that. Without anything else, let's move on into the main part of our show. So, to kick off our week in TV here, we are first catching up on some old business. Mads, I had you watch For the Goat as part of our redemption round. I made you watch High School on Freevee. So, tell me what you thought of High School.
It was okay. I liked parts of it, and then other parts I felt dragged a bit. I also I did get invested in the story overall. Like, I pulled myself through each episode, but there were some parts of each episode that I was just like, okay, can we move on to something else? Like, I just felt like it moved at such a slow pace. And maybe that was just me. I don't know. But I felt like it moved a little slow at times. And it was also kind of frustrating that we get to the end of the season and I feel like there's still so much unresolved stuff going on. And it's like, oh, I hope there'd be some more answers, and there really weren't. It feels very open-ended, very like everything is in limbo. I don't know anything about the show and whether or not it has another season, like any of that stuff, whatever. But like it just definitely felt very unresolved, and I don't necessarily like that feeling about with shows and stuff. I didn't feel super connected to the mom or the stepdad. Like I was just like, okay, they're there. They're just there. So anytime it cut to them specific storyline bits, I was just like, okay, you know. I did like Tegan a bit more than I liked Sarah as a character. But yeah, I mean, it was enjoyable. It's probably not something I'll watch again, but it was enjoyable.
So I do want to say two things here. First, I think you're wildly discounting the show. The second thing is that, so this came out in 2022. There was originally a plan for there to be a second season, but it was canceled. So there was, I mean, there was supposed to be more. Like, you are catching on to something like they were supposed to pick up these threads. It was just never.
Gotcha.
I will agree with you that there are certain areas of the show that are stronger than others. I think the two lead girls are very good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, two girls that were just essentially plucked from TikTok. That's not pejorative. They were literally two TikTok girls.
Oh,
TikTok.
really?
Yeah, they were two girls from TikTok. They had never started anything before. This was their first role. They are real twins, and I think they're just spectacular in the way that they portray like this kind of raw, wounded teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with like the complication of queerness in the 90s. I like that. And like even the bits that like don't work as well, like the stepdad, I think are still very engaging. I think Kobe Smulders as the mom is a very rich character. I think that might be the biggest point I disagree with you on. I found her, yeah, a really layered and textured character.
I personally don't like Kobe Smulders that much, and that's possibly played into it as well. So
I think Kobe Smulders is so good in the show. We've talked a lot about like the good mom performances, and I think this is just such a great mom performance. And I also just really enjoy the running joke of all of their friends thinking that their mom is hot, which is like the most honest reaction that you would have to someone's mom just being Kobe Smulders.
that's valid.
Like if you went to someone's house and their mom was Kobe Smulders, you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really, and I like how delightfully messy both Tegan and Sarah's love interests are.
I mean, you've got Sarah who likes Phoebe, who can't communicate for shit. Also, is terrified of her mother, so like she'll listen to anything her mother tells her to do, and it's like, Sarah, why do you like this girl? Like, what is wrong with you?
What and like and the show gives you those moments of like, oh, I get it. I was like, I get why, especially at that age of like, oh yeah, I get why like she has you in a chokehold, you know. And then Maya is just so like that certain brand of edgy, you know,
Yeah.
played by our favorite Jules Fix, who's just great.
I liked Maya at first, but then she started to get a little bit whiny and clingy, and I was just like, I don't hate you, but I'm also just kind of like over you right now. Like, can you go away for a bit? Like, I understand her motivation behind being upset with Tegan about things, but at the same time, I was also like, grow the fuck up. Like, girl, come on. Like, that's her sister. Like, what?
Well, I like the way that Maya contributes to the entire show's almost thesis of like queerness in this uncertain time leading to an insecurity and a vulnerability that you don't know what to do with. And I think all of that coming to a head with like her hooking up with the much older bartender,
Yes.
and you're like, oh, you're making recognizable mistakes. You're making mistakes that like I can see the real world analog of this, and it's like, oh, I wish you wouldn't do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's very lived in. It's very like, oh, there's countless girls of that age who have made like that mistake.
Right.
It's like, oh, you're just kind of, but Amanda Fix is so good. Like just capturing that. Yeah, she's just spectacular. I think.
Oh yeah, she's a good actress. I think she's one of the stronger performers on the show.
I would have killed for a second season of the show. I just really adore it. The two girls' names, in case I didn't say it earlier, are Rayleigh and Season Gilland, and again, they're just directly plucked from TikTok. It's great. And I do think it's really essential for the show to have them like both be like real twins,
Yes.
instead of like one actress playing twins, because like when you cut from like uh one girl to another, from like Tegan to Sarah, you're like, oh, I can really feel the difference, you know.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure out visually looking at them, like who was who. But yeah, definitely can tell like in the mannerisms and stuff.
I really wish Clea Duvall could have made more of this because it was really good. Let's move on to our next show. We are not talking about Dimension 20, the Unsleeping City this week. We're taking a week off from that, but I do want to talk about the new season of Misfits and Magic, which just started up, which has taken a 3-year time jump from where we last saw this. And Misfits and Magic, for those who don't know, is a kind of riff on Harry Potter, with 4 American teenagers being chosen to come to this not Hogwarts as a kind of pilot program to have like formerly like non magical people come to a magical school and see how that can go.
Right.
And so this is like the continuation of that, where things have gone badly and magic is in a weird place, and they are in a position to fix it. And we have the same table from the first season: Lou Wilson, Erica Ishii, Daniel Bradford, and our boy Brendan Lee Mulligan. This time
Yes.
as a back as a player, with Abria Iyengar as the GM, and Abria, she's great. I love her so much as a GM. Brendan caught flack in the first season because everyone else is a person of color, and he kind of took up a lot of space in the first season. But his character Evan Kelp is just such. He's so sad. He is the ultimate sad boy. His character is basically that one teen who can't help doing dark magic, but doesn't want to, and just like lives on the street, and he just wants everyone to like him,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't know how to do that. It's just such a sad character, and Brendan plays it kind of perfectly. But like Erica and Lou are doing great. Yeah, I love this entire table. It's such a fun group of characters in this world that is really separating itself from the thing it's satirizing. So like this season, it's really like taking that step to be like not Harry Potter as closely Harry Potter related, really like making its own stamp. So I'm really enjoying it so far. Yeah, I look forward to seeing like where the season will go and what they all manage to do with it. There's some wonderful set design for the season. Really like there's a center console that is really inventive, and the art department has outdone itself. Is truly unlike anything I've seen on Dimension 20. That's Misfits and Magic. Let's move on to our next show. Nobody Wants This. So I did not watch this. So Mads, tell me about Nobody Wants This.
All right. So picture this. It's a romantic comedy TV show with Kristen Bell and Adam Brody playing these two characters that are unlucky in love. Kristen Bell's character has a tendency to go on first dates and never return for another date with guys, or she dates guys for too long that are really bad for her, and then she ends up like not sticking with them, or like something goes wrong. Anyway, she's turned her love life into a podcast that she hosts with her sister. And when this show starts, they're at a party and they find out that it's been picked up by a like producer to like make it a big thing, like, you know, extending into television, movie, books, all that kind of stuff. And then on the other side, you've got Adam Brody, who is this young man who has been training to become a rabbi. He's about to start being a rabbi at his temple, and he comes home one day and his girlfriend has gone looking through his locked drawer in his house and found the engagement ring that he was planning on giving to her, and she decided to forego him actually asking her and decided to put it on her finger and say, well, you were going to ask me anyway. And he ditched her ass for a very good reason. That's psycho behavior. But the problem I have with this show, it's cutesy, it's fun, it's very lighthearted, it's easy watching, so it's definitely good for those days where you're like, I want to watch something that's going to make me feel good, but I don't have to do a lot of like mental processes to watch it. That's definitely this show. I've only watched 3 episodes, but it's very rom-com-y, nothing too serious. The main issue I have with these first 3 episodes is that it seems to go through things very fast, right? Like, there's no slow burn with these people. They meet at a party in the first episode, and all of a sudden they're talking about dates, and they're going on a date, all this stuff. And then within those first 3 episodes, we have that. Plus, we have the drama from his family because his mom doesn't want him dating her because she is not Jewish. She is a shiksa, and that is a big problem for his mother. So there's that problem. And then we find out in the second episode, because he talks to his sister-in-law, his sister-in-law, and she's like, oh, well, your ex seems to think that you're not really broken up. And so there's that whole miscommunication thing where the woman that he broke up with, because she took it upon herself to put an engagement ring on her finger, thinks that they're still together. And like, then by the next episode, that's resolved. So it's like, it moves very fast. And I'm just like, not sure where it's going to end up by the end of the 10 episodes, but it's cute. It's fun. But it's nothing overwhelmingly, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This has a lot of strength to it. Like, it's just your typical trashy rom-com. And I'm okay with that. Like, I didn't hate it.
Right.
And Kristen Bell and Adam Brody have good chemistry with each other, that it works. You know what I mean? But it's cutesy. I am enjoying myself.
Yeah, I doubt this is something I'll ever watch, but
that's fair.
I'm happy for everyone else that has been enjoying this. Let's move on to our next show, Matlock, which is premiered on CBS, starring Kathy Bates, created by Jenny Snyder Urban, who did Jane the Virgin previously to this, which shares some DNA with it. And one day I'm going to learn not to underestimate Jenny Snyder Urban.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna learn that one day. It doesn't look like it's today, because I spent this first episode going, okay, a lot of exposition here. There's a lot of very showy dialogue. There's a lot of like, okay, you're saying these things now. A lot of it, it sets stuff up in the way to be underestimated, and it's not till the end of the episode where you're like, oh, I have fallen for its trap. It has set a trap, because towards the beginning of the episode, Kathy Bates says a line of like, people always underestimate older women.
Women disappear as they age. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, and that sets a trap that I and others walked into unwittingly, and then it springs itself on me at the very end, and I go, Oh, okay. Well done.
So I didn't necessarily think those thoughts. Like as we were going along and I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, okay, she's revealing all this information to make people feel put off by her. Like they feel a sense of security around her, like, oh, she's just this cute hapless old woman that tells these stories about her family, brings up her grandson, and and like, even when she was talking to the witness that they're trying to convince to testify, and she talks about drugs, having an impact in her life. I did like I read some other critics like thoughts on this episode, and they thought, "Oh yeah, she was just making something up for this woman." And I was like, the back of my mind I was like, she's not making this up. Like there's some truth to what she's saying. And so I did get surprised by the ending. I still did get surprised because I wasn't sure what it was that I was feeling a little like there's something else going on with this the whole episode, but I didn't know what it was, so that ending still surprised me, if that makes sense. But I feel like that's just Kathy Bates in her older age. Like she just does this really good job of making you be like, "Oh, you're such a sweet grandmotherly type." And then she turns around and she's a cold hard ass bitch. And it's like, "Yes, actually you are should not underestimate you."
Well, I was thinking prior to this of like a little over 10 years ago, Kathy Bates did Harry's Law,
Mhm.
which is a not dissimilar show where Kathy Bates played a lawyer on TV, an aging lawyer on TV. And I was like, okay, how's they going to really differentiate Harry's Law from Matlock? And immediately you're like, oh, no problem. Done.
Yeah.
Um, as the episode goes along, like it makes decisions, and you're like, huh, okay, like acknowledging Matlock as a real show within the reality of the show,
Mhm.
and you're like, why would you do that? And so like
Right.
it does these things where you're like, okay, you are a you are a rote CBS law procedural, and I should engage with you as such,
Mhm.
and then the end goes no.
Yeah, the end the minute she went around that corner and the guy with the black car like says her real name, I'm just like, oh, so that's why they admitted that Matlock was a TV show, because she took that name from the TV show. Like that's when it clicked in my brain, but I didn't know why she changed her name. And then we find out why, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be so good.
Yeah, yeah. It it weaponizes the CBS format so that it can
Yep.
use it against you, and I'm kind of in awe of that.
We don't get any more new episodes of it till the 17th.
Which is
Um,
crazy.
which is so weird. I don't know why they're doing that, but whatever, Matlock. Um, but I love Leah Lewis in this. She was so cute and amazing.
Oh god, yeah.
I love her lack of humanity towards this old woman. She's like, "You're coming in to try and steal my job. Like, get the fuck out of here." Like, she has no patience for Matlock. She's just like, "No." She's just like, "No."
And I love the continuing trend from Nancy Drew not revealing that Leah Lewis is jacked as hell.
Yeah.
we're,
Mhm.
we're gonna keep this train going just a little more. I love seeing her here graduating from Nancy Drew, and there are a lot of people that I go like, oh, okay, I really like seeing you here. Really, because you have Jason Ritter
Yes.
and
Beau Bridges.
Bo Bridges, who was in the later seasons of Stargate, who I really enjoy. Like when his voice came on, I was like, oh yes, yes, give me it, give me it. And like even Nicole DeBoer, um,
Mhm.
in her guest role for this, who played Esri Dax on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and who I know really well from the Dead Zone TV show. It's like, oh, I feel like I
Mhm.
haven't seen you in anything in years, and it was so nice to see her in this.
It's funny. I can't wait to see more of Jason Ritter's character because like right now I'm kind of like I don't know what to think about this character. And outside of his acting career, Jason Ritter is my favorite TikToker. Like his TikToks bring me so much joy for the most ridiculous reasons because he does them at like 3 o'clock in the morning when he's unable to sleep and his brain is not fully functioning. So like he makes the silliest TikToks. It's great. Um, but he truly does shine on screen in this show, even in his limited capacity in the episode. Um, and I'm very intrigued to see more of him. I'm not sure I care so much about the drama between him and what's her name because like I don't know, I feel like that kind of took away from the episode a bit, but I am intrigued to see them going forward. If that makes sense. Like I don't necessarily care about their divorce, but I care about their dynamic at work.
Yeah, and I'm more interested in like the she is definitely hooking up with that other lawyer.
Oh, absolutely.
We and Matlock, we and Maddie like clock immediately.
Yep.
You're like, oh, they're definitely, yeah.
I think that's what I like about Maddie's character is that like she catches those little nuances that most people ignore and it's just like I love this. Like I love this about her character.
I also really enjoyed Sam Anderson popping up at the end as Maddie's husband.
Oh my god, yes.
Oh, so good.
So good. Also the other reason the surprise twist ending was yes, it was still shocking but not as shocking as it probably could have been was that when she at the towards the beginning of the episode where she said she'd been out of practicing law for 30 years, but then she like says these things throughout the episode that I'm like, no, you've been keeping track of the law more recently than 30 years ago. Something's not adding up. And then when we find out that it's actually only been 10 years since she professionally practiced law, I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, 30 years, girl, you be lying. And in a way, um what is that character's name? The lawyer that she's put under. Anyway, that character kind of clocks it too cuz she's like you say you've been out of practice for this long, but like you seem to really know what's going on. What a good hurrah for Kathy Bates to end her career on.
I do have one more thing to say, which is that as we said, that twist is great, but that grandson is going to be a fucking problem. He's fine in that one scene, but if we have to spend multiple episodes with that grandson behaving the way he behaves, like no child in existence, he's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, he doesn't. The writing for him is off. Yeah.
That's not gonna work. That's just
Yeah. No.
you gotta entirely retool that character or actor or something because no.
Yeah, he talks like a little old man, and it's like, sir, you are like 12 years old.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
What are you doing?
Let's move on to our next show, Dr. Odyssey on ABC. Just the first of many, or one of many shows that Ryan Murphy has put out this season. Why, Ryan Murphy? Why? For what reason have you done this to us?
It's funny you say that. Someone recently tweeted, and I think it was either today or yesterday, they tweeted that someone needs to shut Ryan Murphy up because every time he opens his mouth, he says something so offhandedly stupid that we're like, why are we still letting this man make television? And I think the latest thing he said was that, like, this is the best thing that his new show about the Menendez brothers is the best thing that's ever happened to them in 30 years. And it's like, sir, shut up.
Please shut up.
But yeah, like, I'm tired of this guy. And yet we continue to watch his television shows.
Yeah, I do want to say, I like Dr. Odyssey, but
yeah,
please, God, let someone else make television.
Yeah. We've already got Dick Wolf. We don't need another monolith like that.
No.
Like, let other people do it.
But as for Dr. Odyssey, this show is entirely nonsense. It's ridiculous, and I will not settle for less than 10 seasons of the show. Thank you.
I personally feel like I said this to you earlier. I think I'm getting burned out on medical dramas, but I will say this. I didn't hate the show. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I just wasn't excited by it because I was like, okay, it's, it's medical stuff on a cruise ship. That's fun in its own way, but it's not really like capturing my attention fully like other shows have a tendency to do. But I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. But I also feel like this show said, okay, we have Joshua Jackson. How often can we have him stare at the camera and smile?
Totally. I mean,
it's similar to the whole Teen Wolf. How often can we make this actor take off its shirt?
right. I mean, look. We have 2 shows this week that are basically house butt.
Mm-hmm.
And I will much rather take house but on a boat.
Yeah.
Than the other one. I think Joshua Jackson is very charming and captivating in this. I think he gets the vibe of this down just very right. And I think a lot of this does come down to, I deeply enjoy spending time with these people.
Right.
I think, Joshua Jackson is really good. Philippa Sue, who a lot of people will know as Eliza in the original Hamilton run.
Yep.
God, I just might be in love with her. She's so good.
Oh, I adore her character. I also am really amused by Tristan, played by Sean Teal, I think is how you say his last name. But he's so hapless and such a mess that I love him.
I'm less excited about the love triangle that they're setting up
that's
here.
dumb.
Unless they go full love triangle. I'm talking, I want a bisexual love triangle here, people. If you're not giving me that, I don't want it. Just have
right.
just have Max and Avery fuck. I don't need the rest of it. Okay?
I also will say the best guest star for this episode goes to Rachel Dratch.
Absolutely.
And you think that she's only going to be in that like one little emergency because you're like, okay, how could there possibly be another emergency with this couple? But they manage it. They manage it in spectacular form, and I will say that was very enjoyable, and I found myself chuckling a little bit.
This isn't necessarily a negative, but this episode has perhaps the most absurd COVID plotline that I have ever seen.
I was going to say I had no love for them being like, oh yeah, this doctor guy was patient 0 for the United States for COVID-19. I was like, this is stupid as shit. What the fuck is this?
When they were doing that, I was like when they started, I was like, there's no fucking way. I was like, they're not actually gonna do this.
Oh, they went there.
I was like, there's no way they're gonna say that he was patient 0. And then they did, and I was like, I kind of love the audacity of that, but also it's fucking nonsense. Did you happen to see the theory that Vulture put up?
No.
That all of this is in fact a fever dream. And that he is still in a coma.
So it's very similar to the theory about Grey's Anatomy that this is all them trying to remind Meredith of her life because she has Alzheimer's.
I don't think I like this theory, only because the show doesn't work if this is the case.
Yeah, I don't like that theory either. Also because I'm so tired of COVID storylines already, and like we're barely out of it.
Like, it's a fun theory, but that's all. That is as far as I want to take that.
Mm-hmm.
At least at this moment, yeah. I don't think the show can function if this is like a big, like a purgatory show, you know. But yeah, everything else about this is great. And, like even when they're not doing like the doctor bit of like them just like dancing on the beach, it's like, oh, this is really good.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
as any fan would say, Joshua Jackson in that tux at that party.
oh yes, absolutely. Yeah, I want the show to go on forever. I want to watch so much of the show. Let's move on to our next show, Rescue High Surf. Matt's. I did not watch this. I tried. I thought about it. I did start the episode, and I went,
So,
Can I, in my function as a provider of bits on this show, who has long had the bit of stay out of the ocean, can I, in good conscience, watch a show of people haplessly going into the ocean? And I said no. So, Mads, tell me about Rescue High Surf.
so shockingly enough, yes, the ocean is part of the whole story because of the fact that their whole job is to protect a certain stretch of the coastline of this, you know, beach area, whatever, in Hawaii. Oddly enough, we only really they mostly deal with people after they've gotten out of they rescue people from the water, but like they don't really, it's not as big of a character, so to speak, as you would think it's going to be. And it's I that's why I think I'm liking this show a lot, is that it's focusing more on the characters themselves. So like we've got Sunny, who heads up this team of lifeguards in Hawaii, and we find out very quickly that he and his family suffered a big loss with the death of his nephew very recently. And he's still grieving that, and he's still dealing with that. And he's very close with Adrian Kebble's character M. And she's kind of like his second in command, so to speak. And there's a couple other guys that work alongside her, one of which she used to have a relationship with, which I need them to get together, even though he's engaged to another woman presently. I need them to get together because they have such good chemistry, and it's very, very much looking like they deserve to be together kind of chemistry, right? I'm not sure what happened between the two of them. I think I want to say he cheated on her. I think that was a plot point that came up. I can't remember exactly. There were 2 episodes. It kind of all ran together. The only one that was really like centered on the ocean, so to speak, was the emergency in the second episode, where this girl is hiking with her family in the mountains, and the tide came up and swept her away because they were near a creek, which then overflowed and swept her into the ocean, and they had to try and find her. So they were in the ocean a lot that episode. But I think if you focus on just the characters, Drew, you might be okay. But the whole plot of the beginning of this is that this new team of recruits have passed their training, and the rule of this team of rescue, or I think they're called emergency, I forget what they're called, but this specific team of people that are stationed throughout the island, protecting various areas of the island. The rule is that if in your training class, if you end up being number one, you get to pick where you get stationed. And everyone wants to be stationed with Sonny, the guy in charge, because it's the biggest, most busy job, right? Everyone wants it. It's got the most heroics attached to it, right? You want to be the part of that team. Well, the girl, one of the few female recruits, is the one that gets first place, and she wants this position. She wants a position on this team, and it looks like she's gonna get it. But then the guy who's gonna be mayor comes along and says, "Well, my son got second place, and I want him. He wants to be on your team. So you need to put him there. And if you do, I'm going to give you more funding for more towers and more people and all this stuff. And so, of course, Sunny's like, well, that sounds like a good idea. And so he hires the boy over the girl. But then the girl gets added to the team anyway because they realize they do need another set of hands, and the mayor gives them the funding for one more person. And so you can tell that there's going to be political drama off to the side a little bit, you know, with this mayor guy. And you've got to deal with Sonny's grief and the fact that he's not doing what he should be to be mentally at his best for his team. And you're also starting to see a little bit of M kind of like pushing her way into his position, because you kind of see her questioning his decisions about who to hire and all this stuff, but then she's also, you know, showing, oh, I'm competent, I can cover for you if you need to take time off, you know, things like that. She makes some impulsive decisions, so you can tell that she's going to be a character that's going to cause drama, which might be good or bad depending on the situation. But it's interesting.
Well, let's move on to 911. Season 8, Episode 1. I don't have the episode title, but I'm just going to call it B-NATO.
Actually,
Is it
I'm going to tell it to you
B-NATO?
right now.
If you tell me it's B-NATO, I'm going to...
It's called Buzzkill.
Oh, that's even better. That's, you know what? I would have loved it for it to be B-NATO. That would have been great.
The next episode is called When the Boeing Gets Tough. Because it's going to center on the airplane in distress and the commuter plane about to hit it. So,
outstanding.
Hey.
I checked in with 911. I have watched very little 911 in my time. I think I watched some of the first season, so we're coming in blind here. My overall thoughts on this episode is this is everything that 911 should have always been. Always.
Yep.
B-NATO? Absolutely. You should listen. A show like 911 should be as close to Zoo as it possibly can be. And this is it. This is like the peak of the mountaintop, baby. This is...
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. When they said the bees are forming a B-NATO, I was like, oh my god.
The other moment I really liked was the perfume promotional garden party thing, and they realize that the only way they're gonna solve this problem is if they convince the bees to go somewhere else. And so Buck is like, hey Eddie, you're the fastest runner, let's spray you with this perfume and you can attract the bees to go somewhere else. Let's just do that, it's fine, the bees won't attack you, it's fine.
Yep. But like the big nonsense bee stuff, like this should just be what the entire show is. This is it. I don't care. I don't care about Eddie and his son, or cutting to Peter Krause and Angela Bassett, and Peter Krause working on a set for some reason, and Angela Bassett going on a police escort. I don't care. Okay, I don't need that from 911. What I need from 911 is fucking B-NATO. This is what I require.
My thought process about LA at this point is 911 has done every major disaster you could possibly think to the city of LA. And I'm like, of course the next thing's going to be 1 billion killer bees, because why not? We've already done a tsunami. We've done an earthquake. We've done a blimp on fire crashing into a sporting event. Like, we've done it all. But to the point, you don't like Angela Bassett, or you don't care about Angela. Not that you don't like Angela Bassett. You don't care about Angela Bassett's storyline. But I want to just say that poor woman deserves a break. Like, this Athena cannot go on any mode of transportation without some kind of fucking disaster happening. The poor woman needs to be able to go somewhere in some kind of capacity without her life being put in danger. She can't even go home without her life being put in danger, because at the end of last season, her home burned down with her in it. So Like, bitch needs a break. She went on a cruise with her husband for the first time ever, and it capsized because of these guys that took over the ship and wanted smuggler, like, pirate type guys. It was ridiculous. Again, this show, you can never take it 100% seriously, because if you do, you're not enjoying it the right way. It does the stupidest things. I loved when Bobby was on the set of this show or movie or whatever it is, and he's giving them direction, and then he goes, and no one ever says blah blah blah, and the guy goes, you're not here to talk about the script, and it's like, but he is a firefighter. Like, he's telling you no firefighters in their right mind say that stuff. But also the kind of like breaking the fourth wallness of it all, where he's like on a set giving advice to actors about being a firefighter when he's an actor playing a firefighter. It's a ridiculous show, and I love it.
I am concerned it's just all downhill for me from here.
I do encourage you to go back to the beginning of season 3 and watch the tsunami episodes, because I feel like you would find them very fun. Because it's just a major disaster. Like, it's just the most ridiculous shit. I also encourage you, I'll have to find out what episode it is for you to go back and watch the episode where they have to corral zoo animals. Because again, right up your alley of enjoyment for this show.
The thing that I most want is to capture the joy of Zoo, of someone slapping a 4-star general and needing to know where the earthquake-causing sloth is. This is what I want for my TV, people. Can 911 give this to me? Seems like it can.
It can. It definitely can. I need it to be that way, because, like, it's just... The longer this show is on, the more it's like you need to lean into your ridiculousness. And ever since it came over to ABC, it definitely has. Because last season we had cruise ship pirates causing these firefighters to go rogue and become people that go out to the ocean to save people. Like, firefighters, that's not your purview, but apparently it is for this show. You're not the Coast Guard. What are you doing? And then we also had the Mexican cartel coming in and causing chaos, which is like, again, what is going on here? Why is this here? But you enjoy it regardless, because you're like, you know what? Lean into your total unhingedness, because that is what is best about this show.
Listen, here's what I require. Something on the level of a bunch of fire ants on their way to blow up a super hadron collider. This is the gold standard of what I'm talking about, people. Exploding fire ants. Everyone go watch Zoo.
Again, Angela Bassett, an award-winning actress, is playing a cop on a show that is the epitome of what ridiculous, outlandish thing can we make happen that would somewhat tangentially relate to some kind of action that a firefighter would do. Do these firefighters fight fires very often? No, they do not. Most of the time, it's stupid shit. I don't even remember the last time they actually fought a fire.
See, this is why none of the characters ever die, because none of them ever actually go into a fire.
That's fair. That's fair. Completely fair. But I swear, I said to Karen after watching this episode, I said, I swear to God, if they kill Angela Bassett's character at the beginning of this season, I'm going to murder them, because it makes no sense. Like, you're gonna kill somebody for no reason. She's the best part of your show. She Thelma and Louise that motherfucking cop. Like, come on. Which I don't even know if he was a real cop, because I feel like he was fake. Who knows what that plot's gonna be. her captain literally was like, "Did you literally put him in the trunk of his own car?" And she's like, "Uh-huh."
Let's move on to our next show, Brilliant Minds, which is on NBC, starring Zachary Quinto as a supposedly brilliant neurologist with a case of face blindness.
Right.
This is just House, but what if he was just a neuroscientist? I don't like it.
I don't either.
I don't know what Zachary Quinto thinks he's doing on this show, but he is not calibrated to it whatsoever.
I think he's been a stage actor for too long, and he thinks he's supposed to overperform in order to like make, because you know with stage acting you have to make sure your movements and your actions and your vocal performance is big enough that people at the back of the theater can see it and hear it and feel it. And like I think he's forgotten that you don't need to do that for television.
No,
But I'm also just not a big Zachary Quinto fan.
I like Zachary Quinto fine. I think he is miscast in this.
Yeah, definitely.
He's miscast, or he has interpreted the character wrong. He or the writing seems to be afraid of letting this deeply house coded character be an asshole, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what this show needs. This guy is too nice.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
too nice.
Just when you think he's gonna be a dick, his friend, the black woman, points out that he needs to take a breather, and he's like, "Oh, right, I need to check myself," and like he turns nice again, and I'm like, "No, let him be a fucking asshole."
Don't be an asshole. This is what this character is. Like, this is why House worked. This show is missing something that House just had. Like, it is just not on level. And I think a show like this is going to live and fucking die on how good the performances are, how good the characters are, and how interesting the case is. When you're giving me a case that I saw more interestingly done on New Amsterdam, that's not a good place to start from. Yeah, like I think they needed to work more on this case because like you need a really interesting case. Like if you're gonna make a case, if you're going to like pitch me on the show as we're going to show you the weird inner workings of the mind, I need you to get weirder than this.
Right.
I need you to give me something that I haven't seen a few times before, and an ending that is just far too pat, just entirely far too pat. Yeah, I don't care for this whatsoever.
I'm just not convinced I'm supposed to care. I also kind of hoped that when they brought up that he was gay, that it was going to cut to him like going home at one point and being, you know, in a relationship with somebody, and it be complicated and messy because of that whole he doesn't recognize faces thing, and it kind of makes him, again, it would have helped to make him seem more dickish even to people that he quote unquote loves. And so by saying he's gay and has no relationship with people, I'm like, you're not making me care about this character. I don't care.
Also, I just think there's really shoddy writing throughout it. Like, there's one scene of him getting kicked off the case by the chief of neuro, and then 2 scenes later, he's just right back at the case.
Mm-hmm.
No change. He took a dip in the Hudson, which I don't think that's legal. I don't think you're allowed to do that.
No.
Unless you're Ricky Matsui, I don't think you're allowed to do that. But like, there's no bridge there. Like he's just right back at work, and it's like you have not shown the steps. Like you just, it feels like you had that piece of conflict in there just so there would be conflict in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it like had no indication of like actually following through on that. So like,
Right, it's not real conflict.
yeah, it's lazy writing.
They're like, oh, maybe the viewers won't notice that we didn't actually show him communicating with the head of neuro to get his job back. Because again, I think they're, like you said, I think they're trying to be House-esque, and you can't do that without the writing to back it up or giving us the emotional attachment as to why we don't care that he just shows back up willy-nilly to a job that he's been fired from.
Right. Well,
Because House was kicked off of cases all the time, and he was just like, fuck you, I'm not going to listen to you. But we haven't been given a reason to believe that he has that, what's the word I'm looking for? That authority to do that, because he's new. So he doesn't have that authority.
right. Well, and also, like, the thing that worked about House was he had a motley crew of people telling him to go fuck himself. Like, he had,
Yes.
he had his three doctors, and Cuddy and Wilson, all of them telling him to go no, go screw yourself. And then like
Mhm.
he would have to finagle his way back onto the case. And like that was like the fun of that show. Like that's why it worked. There were so many people bumping up against him, and this just has none of that. He's a genius. So let's all bask in his genius and just let him do his work. And it's like, no, that's not interesting. That's not why House ran for 8 seasons. You know?
And I feel like they were trying to bring in an emotional element into it by showing us those scenes of his past with his dad. And I'm like, there's not enough depth to those scenes for us to truly feel emotionally tied to them.
No, and also you don't need that. You can just say, he's a genius neurologist and he knows how to fix people's brains. Like that's all you need. Yeah, to me it feels like a show wildly insecure of itself, but having no depth to reach any deeper. Yeah, I don't imagine this is what I'll be checking in on.
No.
Let's move on to our next show, Grotesquerie, which is yet another Ryan Murphy joint on FX, and I think we can keep this pretty brief. It is entirely rote and mundane and does nothing interesting and does nothing to set itself apart from any number of other dark crime shows or movies.
Yep.
There's nothing to differentiate itself from Seven or Hannibal or any countless things. This has a Ryan Murphy show that falls apart at episode 7 written all over it.
In the first episode.
Yeah, in the first episode. Like this is this so feels like American Horror Story, where it's like episode 6.
Right. The person that reviews this show for Telltale TV, I'm the editor for their review, and their review nailed it on the head when they said there's too much talking and not enough action. And I'm like, I agree. Right. There's too much like mundane talking that I don't care about. And you have this heavy hitter in Niecy Nash, Betts, and it's like, you're not utilizing her properly. What is wrong with you?
The show wants to straddle a line between being ultra gritty and entirely surrealistic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bridge those gaps. You give me... There are individual components of this that I like. Like, you give me a weird journalistic nun who curses all the time, and I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just surround it with like this nothingness. Even the gore of the crimes. It's like, I've seen this done more interestingly on Hannibal. This feels entirely rote. It feels entirely like mundane, It is so pedestrian.
Every element of it, I'm like, I've seen this before. Why is this supposed to be cared about? Like, why am I supposed to care about this? Like you said, I've seen these grotesque mutilations of a body done way more artfully on Hannibal. We've seen the whole cop who drinks too much and potentially could be misconstruing what's really happening because of the fact that she drinks so much. We've seen that before. It's nothing new. These characters just aren't compelling. I don't quite know what they're trying to get at with the nun and the priest, but I don't care.
And like a nun character like this should be an automatic win.
Yeah.
Any other show, it's like this is a home run. This is this is everything. This is the peak of the mountaintop, baby. And it's like this is just so entirely bland.
And I felt like the bond between the nun and Niecy Nash's cop wasn't entirely earned, because the minute this nun girl shows up, the cop isn't put off by the fact that she seems to know things. She's like, okay, tell me more, I need to understand better. And it's just like, all of a sudden they're hanging out and drinking together, or not necessarily on the nun's part, but like they're getting drinks, they're going and spending time together, and it's like they're sort of buddies. And it's like, where did this come from? This has not been built up or earned in any way.
It's like Ryan Murphy had the idea of, what if a cop partnered up with a reporter nun, but has no patience to get to that point. He just wants it immediately. We gotta get there. We have to have that be like the thing of the show. It isn't like building to it. There's just no patience there. There are bits that have promise, but there's no confidence in my mind that this won't immediately fall apart.
And it doesn't help that I know in the coming episodes, Travis Kelce is going to show up at some point. And it's like, you're not an actor. Please go away. You are a football player. Go away.
Let's continue on to our last show of the week. Agatha All Alone, Season 1, Episode 3. So, what did you think of this episode?
I found it intriguing. It definitely sets up finding out more about Agatha and what she's hiding, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. But also I'm very disappointed that we've already lost a character.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Mrs. Hart. But no, it was an intriguing, interesting episode that really drove home the misfitness of each of these characters. Like, you can tell that they've come together because they feel like they have to, but you can also tell that these characters don't trust each other, and this episode very much highlights that.
Yeah, it's a very fun locked room ticking time episode, like ticking clock episode. And so for that, I think it's really fun. I need Aubrey Plaza to come back into the fold immediately. Yeah, for what this is, I think it's very enjoyable and cromulent.
I also very much like that despite there being alcohol and the fact that this is supposed to be a group activity, so to speak, everyone was still on board with, no, do not let the teen drink the alcohol. Because this is definitely a situation where they do need one sober friend, so to speak, quote unquote. And it's good that that they were able to do that organically, because they're like, oh, you're a teenager. No, you cannot drink the laced alcohol.
You can't be drinking alcohol at all, but definitely not the laced.
Right, exactly. I continue to be put off by Joe Locke's accent, but that's again just a me thing. It's not taking me out of the show at all, but I'm just like, oh, sir, you are not very good at an American accent.
No, this is not just a you thing. His accent slips a lot in this episode.
It does.
Like, basically, anytime he has to raise his voice, it's gone. He loses his entire grasp on the accent.
It very much reminds me of, there's a scene in Brothers and Sisters where Matthew Rhys, who is very Welsh, has to be angry at someone, and in the middle of his impassioned, angry tirade, his Welsh accent comes through very strongly, and you're just like, oh, I see you slipped up there. This very much reminded me of that.
Yeah. It's a fun performance, but like the American accent is not his best.
He not working.
Yeah.
And the whole dropping the whole line about as if you were her son makes me really strongly believe that he is her son, especially after she has the delusion of a crying baby. And there is in the comics, apparently, I've not read the comics. I don't really know the lore around Agatha Harkness, but apparently she does have a child. So it's not strongly weird to say he could potentially be a child that she gave up in some capacity.
Yeah, I still think this is Billy, but
Mm-hmm.
was almost definitely Wanda's kid. But so I will continue to think that until told otherwise. Especially when you have a wine that is Spanish for red witch.
Yep. I like going in a little blind with this stuff because I can enjoy things and be like, oh, I wonder if this is what this is. Like, whereas some of the fans are like, oh, I know exactly what's going. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of like going in a little blind, being like, I don't know enough to care about
Right.
what could be or what couldn't be. Continues to be one of the best Marvel shows that has come out in recent years.
More of that next week. That'll do it for this week. Next episode, we will be talking about season 3 of Heartstopper, along with other stuff. Until then, Matt, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DorothyNYC89 and on Tumblr at MadsWorld15.
And you can follow me on Twitter at TheDrewKoenig and everywhere else at Drew Koenig. You can follow the podcast at Now That TV Podcast on all your social platforms. And also for our Linktree, which has all of our socials, plus our Discord at linktree.com/TV Podcast. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on Apple and Spotify, along with our full feed on our Libsyn at libsyn.com/TV Podcast. Be sure to leave a review and subscribe. Be sure to send us an email as well at notanothertvpodcast@gmail.com with anything you would like to send our way, including listener questions and goat submissions. Until next week, please remember, don't go in the ocean. I don't care if one of these rescue high surf people are there or not. And they're really hot. It doesn't matter. Don't go in the ocean. Goodbye.